Hey everybody, I'm starting a new series called The Road to Deadpool and Wolverine, where every week I'll be going back and making custom minifigures from the X-Men films in chronological order of release all the way up to Deadpool and Wolverine. All right, guys, it is time for Days of Future Past. I know you guys have been waiting patiently for this one, and I'm super excited here. Now, first and foremost, I love the way that so many of these figures turned out. Hopefully you do too. And I want to give a shout out to a YouTuber named Star Irk, who did a series a while back based off of Days of Future Past, who did some really great designs, particularly with Magneto, but there are a couple torsos and things like that you'll notice some similarities between his customs and mine, and I just want to give a shout out since they had done some of these first. I hate to keep saying shout out throughout the whole thing, so I would just say definitely go check out their video from a couple years ago for some great inspiration as well. Really nice work over there. And with that being said, let's get into building these customs here today. All right, so the movie starts in the future, and with that in mind, I went ahead and made the younger X-Men. Now, I do realize that I left 2 out, but in favor of time and getting this video out week by week, I wanted to just focus on the main character X-Men, like the ones that you guys know from the comics and other movies and cartoons and whatnot. So, that being said, we'll start on the right here with Colossus. We haven't gotten a ton of gray Lego heads, let alone silver that would look like his, metallic skin. Zane from Ninjago has a lot of good options, but sadly, I don't have any Zane minifigs, so trying to keep it as Marvel as possible, I went ahead and used the head from Ebony Maw from the Sanctum Sanctorum with gray arms, a torso from an Imperial Engineer character, black legs, and 1x1 studs, so that when you put him next to another minifig, he's slightly taller. So that does help quite a bit. For Iceman, I went ahead and used some spiky hair with the head from Thor. This torso comes from an Imperial Engineer or like some kind of Death Star Trooper or something. Really, you could just use any kind of black adventure-looking torso. I think it'd look pretty good. I used these dual-molded arms from the Video Gamer from the CMF with black hands and black legs. For Kitty Pryde, I went ahead and used this brown hair that has a ponytail in the back. I thought it looked pretty good for what we see in the movie. The head comes from Hermione from the Lego Harry Potter CMF Series 2. The torso comes from Bruce Banner from Infinity War or Ragnarok, and I used some mid-sized legs because she is noticeably shorter than her castmates, and I think that works out pretty well here. Finally, for Bishop, I used a dark red cape with the flipped-around torso from Star Wars' Tasu Leech, with the hands and head from Phastos from Eternals, with the legs from Tasu Leech, and the hair that comes from Mordo from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness from the Sanctum Sanctorum. Now that brings us to Magneto and Professor X from the future. I went ahead and used the torso from Razor Fist from Shang-Chi with black arms, hands, and legs to round that out, with a black cape, the head from Magneto, and the receding gray hair that's come on many minifigs at this point. For Charles Xavier, I used the head from Old Man Han Solo, the torso from Ethan Hunt from LEGO Dimensions with black arms, hands, and legs, and then of course I went ahead and built out his hover wheelchair. It kind of sits at an angle, as you can see, and there's a 3x2 plate in the center there. Then when we flip it around, you can see it's kind of got those under slopes. That's what I call them, probably not the actual name for it. A 1x2 with a ledge, some cheese slopes for him to kind of lean back into, and then some cheese slopes on top of 1x1 plates to go ahead and build that up. I realize that I probably just butchered every Lego piece name there was there, but it is what it is, and you still love me anyways. Now, I did mention that this would be the minifigs from the Rogue cut, so of course I made Rogue, and to build her, I used some gray legs with gray arms and hands on the torso from the old 2015 Hydra Trooper, with the head from Hermione from LEGO Dimensions and the hair from Narcissa Malfoy from Harry Potter. Then for Logan, I used the torso from Killmonger from Black Panther 2018, with the arms from my doppelganger Rex Dangervest. Think those work pretty well with black hands, and then of course the claws. The legs come from pretty much Hawkeye, Black Widow, lots of different Avengers from over the years, with the 2012 Logan head, just because I think it looks pretty good aged, and of course some flat black hair up top. Then for Storm, I used some Karen hair from Lego City. The arms and head come from Barbara Gordon from the Lego Batman movie. The torso is flipped around from Agent 13 from Captain America Civil War with black legs, and the cape that attaches to the wrists from Storm from 2014. Alright, so for Logan from 1973, I wanted to do something a little different. I used the head from the X-Men 97 version of Logan. That way, when you compare him to the 2012 version, you know, when he's so far in the past, his face doesn't have quite as many lines, the stubble isn't as thick, and I think it just looks a little bit younger by comparison. So that's where that's from, but I did use the 2012 Wolverine hair to show the spiky corners of his hair that he has. Moving down, the torso comes from Owen Grady with the brown sleeves and tan hands on there to match. Then we've got the belt from Owen Grady with some regular blue legs, and because he's back in time and he now has the bone claws, I actually used the claws from the Demogorgon from the Stranger Things house set. So pretty cool, and I love the way that this turned out. For Beast and Mystique, I went ahead and used some similar designs from before. Mystique I've been building the same way this whole time, with some classic Lego red hair, the head from Ayla Secura, the torso from Hydro Man from Spider-Man, and then of course all the arms and leg colors to match. And then for Beast, I used some dark brown legs, the torso from Marty McFly with red sleeves, arms, whatever you want to call them, and the hands, head, and hair from Beast from the Lego Marvel CMF Series 2. For the young versions of Xavier and Magneto, I went ahead and used the torso from Frodo Baggins with the head from Captain America from Infinity War with some long dark brown hair and some dark brown legs. And for Magneto, I did use the head from Han Solo, but the rest of the design actually comes from Star-Urk, like I mentioned earlier. This design just looks so great, there's nothing you can change. It, of course, is the 2012 Magneto helmet. Like I said, I used Han Solo's head underneath. The cape comes from Scarlet Witch. The torso is flipped around from that one dude from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Can't remember that guy's name off the top of my head, but the legs come from Ant-Man from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And finally, that brings us to Quicksilver and Trask. For Trask, I used the torso from J. Jonah Jameson with some short legs to match. The head comes from Professor Flitwick from Harry Potter, and I gave him Emmett's hair from the Lego Movie. Then, for Quicksilver, I used the head from Pod Racer Anakin to put the goggles on there. Then I used this hair that came from Ninjago. I can't remember who it's from. I think it's like an older Lloyd Garmadon, if I'm not mistaken, but someone in the comments will know, I'm sure. Then the torso comes from Rain Delacourt from Jurassic World Dominion with tan hands and jeans on there. So with that being said, let's wrap up the video. Well, thanks for checking out today's video, guys. Be sure to let me know in the comments how you think these customs turned out, any changes you would make if you were to build these customs yourself, and of course, stay tuned because next week we've got Deadpool, and it's going to be a wild ride from here to Deadpool and Wolverine, so be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.